It is a big, big weekend coming up at Santa Anita. They're calling this one First Saturday. We got the Wolf of Oaklawn, Chase Sessoms here, Gino Bacola, as we get you set up for the free contest on Saturday over at Santa Anita. Chase, this is a massive weekend they've been promoting there. Between Santa Anita and Gulfstream Park, there are 14 graded stakes races, 15 stakes races overall. They have a free contest where if you pick the winner of all 15 of those, you can win $5 million jackpot. There's an all stakes pick 5 for $1 on a 12% takeout. There's an all stakes pick 5 on the turf. That's the same exact thing that combines races from Santa Anita and from Gulfstream. There's a huge ultimate betting challenge contest. It's like a big $3,500 entry fee. They have literally thrown it all at the wall this week. And that doesn't even count our free pick'em contest that they have over there. There is so much happening.
Dude, if I gotta say, I think about 5 million is what I would expect if I hit the old pick 15.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you should get rewarded for the pick 15. I have struggled getting like a pick half of one into the winner's circle as of late, but we're going to do our best to help you out with the Santa Anita Pick'em contest. That's what's going to be great about this Saturday. You can sit back and enjoy and get involved in so many different things. So much action. This contest is free, so this one's great. Won't cost you a cent to enter, and you'll be able to get a little sports action along with your horse racing. So what else is better than some Saturday action where you get a little NBA, you get a little college basketball along with your horse racing in the mix?
Yeah, make sure there are fresh batteries in the remote. Get yourself a little igloo cooler to just sit next to you on the couch so you don't waste time, walking to the fridge and back, and flip around and enjoy some great sports and great racing.
So the website, pick'em.santaanita.com. And this is what it looks like when you get there. Make sure to read the fine print when you get all signed up, just so you know exactly the rules of what you're doing. These are just 1 point per prop contest. So it doesn't matter in some of these when it asks you just to pick the winner of the race. You're not getting rewarded if it's a 10-1 shot versus an even money shot. It's just pick the winner. You got to just stack them wins. Chase.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom.
JPW. Just pick winners.
Pick winners. You want to zig a few times where you think everybody else might be going in a certain direction, but you won't be getting rewarded for that 20-1 shot that you pick. Just keep in mind that if you think that's the logical winner of the race, that's the right direction to go.
Yeah. If you zig, just zig to a winner.
Exactly. No pressure or anything. Yeah. As we jump on in to the Saturday, March 5th slate. So right up top, it'll always tell you what cards are available. A little bit later on, we're recording this on Friday afternoon, evening, probably a few hours, and then the Sunday card will become available. Every Saturday, every Sunday, you can play in these contests for free. Now, there are 2 questions in here that involve my Trojans, and they have a rivalry game against UCLA. Both of these teams are pretty evenly matched, just sort of when you kind of look at their resume throughout the year and a lot of what they've done. They're both probably like top 20-ish sort of teams or so. I'm not sure if UCLA is quite as good as we maybe had thought earlier in the year. USC is fine. USC has a pretty good defense, though. Both of these teams, I think you think of more defensively than you might think of as just like lighting it up offensively. Where did you land for the total in this game? The total, excuse me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see 141 free throws for you there, Gino, and it's a teachable
definitely
moment.
not. That's definitely not. It's supposed to be 14.
Gotcha. I went 27.
Okay.
I went 27. I looked at, they're both averaging taking around like 12, 13, maybe, making 12, 13 free throws a game. Also UCLA fouls a little bit heavier than a lot of teams in the country. So I thought maybe not bump it up just a little bit. So if they were going to make 141 free throws, like where can I bet the over and how quickly can you tell me how to liquidate all of my assets quickly?
Yeah. USC is a very poor free throw shooting team. That's one of my big worries here. USC has a good 2-point defense field goal percentage. So one thing where they're weak is the three. They kind of invite you to shoot the three a little bit more. So I think that may be a place where UCLA can try to attack. I went a little bit lower. Like you said, you went a little bit higher. Some games USC can be in situations where they're, I don't know, 4 or 5 free throws made. They're literally one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the nation. So I'm lower on this one. But while we're talking USC UCLA, because this game is actually one of the other props, so we can kind of go down to it while we're there. What did you do in the USC UCLA game, which is just a USC, I think it's +7.5, UCLA -7.5 at UCLA?
I went USC plus the 7.5. A lot of this for me is eye test. Like I have not really been impressed with UCLA as much lately. USC's had some tough losses, but like when I think about what I've seen visually between the two teams, I feel like USC might just be the better team, quite honestly. Of course, they're going on the road, but how much of the road is it really going to Poly?
Yeah.
Like
they beat them 5 times in a row. USC has, which is pretty crazy to think about, because UCLA is no doubt the better, more powerhouse of a basketball program. But so I'm going to lean USC just because it does feel too many points. I'm a Trojan fan here. I actually think UCLA will probably win this game just because, like, law of averages, we've beaten them now in a lot of close games now over the last few years. I'm sure they're very motivated here. The way USC's schedule sort of stacked up this year, it looked like they had the opportunity to maybe lose 3 games in a row at the end, because they had a game at Oregon, then Arizona, and then UCLA. So those were going to be 3 of their tougher spots. And it was a bummer for them because they ended up actually just getting blown out against Arizona the other day. That was like the only game USC this year has actually been beat up really in any situation. So that was a bummer. You hope USC will play better off of that game, but UCLA is very motivated too. I think we both just feel like that's a little too many points. Even some of the projections seem like they have UCLA winning by close-ish to 10. I'll lean USC in here and hope they can at least keep this game close enough late, and maybe UCLA gets the job done, but hopefully not. I'm a Trojan.
One of my favorite angles for any sport comes into play, which is UCLA team is definitely abusing its hair privileges. There's some shaggy looking dudes. So I always fade those teams. Always fade teams with players who abuse their hair privileges.
Okay, so we can go back to number 1 now. This one is going to be across sport. So we have we had some funny combination names when we would have these earlier before, but this would be an interesting one, combining Umberto Rispoli, Cedillo, Victor Espinoza, and Mike Smith. So how many combined wins did they have on Saturday versus the total goals in the Blackhawks Flyers game?
You mean Mabel Vick me?
I like, right? This could be funny. It could sound like we're sneezing, or also like a pretty bad word,
right?
Like one of those two.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how you handicapped this one. How'd you get into it? What was your approach here?
So I first went through and I looked at the number of races where you have at least just one of these riders in the race.
So like, what would their max be? Basically.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can't double count those races. You can't say, only one horse can win. Well, I guess technically 2, but or 3. Actually, we don't know how far dead heats can go.
4 dead heats that are just going to really make this prop just.
It's literally, it's going to be like a Brett Bielema like offensive line. It's just going to be like 15 of them on the line all at once.
And in that 15, the free 15, there's going to be like 5 dead heats in there. So that way it just keeps a bunch of people alive to possibly win.
So I actually, instead of going with the total goals, which seemed like the obvious, this is where I zigged. And I went with the combined wins. I had a lot of horses that I actually was high on for those jocks. And I felt like in those places where they kind of doubled up, I felt like I had a good chance of getting at least one of them up. And there were other ones where maybe like only one of them was in there and they were on a horse that I liked. Also with the Blackhawks Flyers, I mean, it's not like they scored just a ton of goals. Like it's reasonable to believe that between 4 riders, they could win 5 races.
Yeah.
It's also reasonable to believe that the Blackhawks and the Flyers could not score 5 goals in a game.
Yeah. That's the thing. And that's what makes, this is one that I would not have a problem with Zick going in the other direction because, like you said, this is a really kind of fun one in that sense. The ceiling for the hockey game feels like, I mean, we could get like a 7-6 hockey game, right? I mean, we could get a 6-5 hockey game. We could get a score in double digits, but we could get a 1-0, 2-1. We could get a 1-2-3 situation. I think these, like, I've got this group pegged at like at least 3. That's sort of how I had them. I thought they were like in like a 3.5 if I was going to make the line for where I had them set. So just in that sense, I leaned hockey because on a day like today or a day like Saturday, I'm just like, how many are Pratt and Johnny V going to get? That's just what I'm worried about. And so
I think it's one you got to look out for tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, and there's another one too, right? You know, you have a couple. So and just in general, this is actually a pretty challenging card at Santa Anita.
Yep, it is very much.
We don't have a lot of short fields like we've gotten in Southern California in a lot of the more recent years. This is a pretty challenging card overall. So that just means a little more parity, right? In races, there are going to be 10, 11, 12 numbers that we don't see in the program a lot of weekends at Santa Anita. And so, I'm going to go total goals, but Chase is going to go the other way. The combined wins of Humberto Rosales, Mike Smith on Saturday.
The unable Vic-me.
The unable Vic-me in prop number 1 on Santa Anita's free pick'em contest for Saturday. Let's get to number 2. This is the Texas-Kansas game. So tell us what you think is going to happen here and how you handicap this one.
I actually love that I'm seeing that you are on the same thing that I'm on. I took Kansas by 11. Here's the deal. They are a home team.
Yep.
But to me, the biggest thing is that they played a close game and that the Big 12 has been absolutely bipolar with their basketball. Yeah. So I could see Kansas just coming out and, this being, supposed to be a close game and they just blow them out because nothing has made sense in the Big 12 all year. And instead of going Texas, which I have a physical allergy to doing, I went ahead and leaned into to Kansas.
Oh gosh, I'm with you. I'm not like, as we're getting closer to March Madness now, I'm starting to stack some of the teams that I'm just like not that high on. Hope maybe I will target sort of when they play games where they're a favorite. Texas is kind of one of them. I just am not that high on Texas. Yeah. They beat Kansas earlier in the year. Kansas, I think on like a couple different spots I looked, is projected in like the 6-ish range to win this game by. But I think because of their recency, they are going to win big in this spot. I really do. I think this is a get-right spot for Kansas to come home and look dominant again after the last couple weeks where they haven't been playing all that well. But you know what? Neither has Texas. If you dig into their schedule, they've got a couple real close victories that very easily could have been flipped the other way. I think the West Virginia game was one. I think the Oklahoma game both could have gone the other way. So, we're both on the blowout.
And I believe Kansas is coming off of back-to-back games with TCU. One where they lost by 10 and one where they won by 4. Don't let the fact that TCU is not ranked throw you off. That is a good basketball team.
They're not bad at all. And they're probably like they're right on the tournament cusp too. They're very capable at home and they're battle tested. They played a lot of good teams. So we're both on Kansas with the big win here on Saturday. Let's continue along. Where do we head for number 3? We're going to the San Carlos. So I can pull this one up on the past performances. Tell us a little bit about the race we're going to be looking at, Chase.
Sure. This is the San Carlos Stakes, which is a grade 2. It's going to go in 7 furlongs on the dirt, going for a purse of $200,000. It's for 4-year-olds and up. And it's a pretty salty little race, I thought. There's seems to be a pretty fair amount of speed here.
Yep.
You've got a closer who's pretty logical in by way of Saison, who is the Bob Baffert horse that should be coming from off the pace. I'm actually going to say that this is a win for Team Able Vic-me because I'm going with the 9. Something you will hear me scream whenever I make a logical bet. Shooter shoot.
Nice.
I I like this horse to actually close into that pace. I feel like Santa Anita, this meet has been more of like a closer's track on the dirt. It seems like I've seen a lot of horses really make up ground late. So I mean, I don't care that it came out of optional claiming and then got bumped into graded stakes.
This is a horse who's always had class too. When you dig back and you can see he's proven that he's capable. And what's nice is this is the type of horse who actually could really benefit sometimes from just a new set of eyes, right? Coming into a really good new barn that's really good with new acquisitions. So, he's kind of versatile too, right? He's got like a little bit of tactical speed. He can kind of close. He doesn't have to be way out of it either. He makes a ton of sense. There were 3 horses in this race who I'm totally fine with picking. For anyone out there, if you like them a little bit, or if you are leaning one way or the other, I wouldn't talk you off any one of those 3. Shooter Shoot, the 9, the horse who I look to, the 4, Cezanne, or if you wanted to get a little creative, the 8, Wicked Trick, is the horse who I actually think is sort of like the crazy long shot that I'm going to give a little bit of a look to. This is a horse who is going to be turning back. And if they do end up going a little bit too quick, this is one who actually will be benefiting from that on the turn back. And I just don't think there's anyone in here that's all that scary. So this is a big bomb that I didn't think was completely dismissed in here. And then the 4, Cezanne, who you mentioned a little bit earlier on, Cezanne, who comes out of that Shooter Shoot rate. But Cezanne is one who might really get a lot out of that race because he hadn't run from August of 2020 to April of 2021. And then after that April race, he didn't race for another 10 months, basically, like all the way to January, like late January. So he's probably going to benefit a lot with that race under his belt.
It's, it's getting to be spring. The weather's getting warmer, and it's just this time of year that I really love the tradition of just betting against 8 rings always.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, you're right. It's just that's the situation. He's going to turn back a little bit. But yeah, I think mostly every time we've had 8 rings on here too, we're usually in the anti 8 rings sentiment here. So that is number 3 in the props on our Santa Anita Pick'em prop contest for Saturday. So while we have the races up, the 4th prop asks about Legs Galore, right? Which is in race number 5 at Santa Anita. So let's just take a look at the 5th race while we have it up here. And this one doesn't ask you to pick the winner of the race. It asks you just about that particular horse and where do you think Legs Galore is going to finish?
Yeah, and I really think that they did a great job of picking a really interesting horse for this prop bet, because if you look at Legs Galore's running lines, this is very much a first or last kind of horse. You know, might hang on for second, but it's that stereotypical need the lead. If I don't get the lead, or if I get, lose the lead, I'm going to pack it in and call it a day. There's a lot of speed in this race. And this horse is stretching out to the mile. Last time it went a mile, it went 22 and 22.3 to the for the opening quarter, which is smoking, and fell off the board. If it goes out and does that again, it's going to get worn down by other speed. So what I did was actually, instead of fading it only back to 3rd or 4th, I faded it back to 5th.
Yeah. Get a little bit more creative, just maybe go a little more outside the box. I went with 4th myself. And for a lot of the reasons that you were mentioning, because I just feel like there was a pretty good amount of other pace in here signed on. Like, we're looking at this race, Legs Galore is really quick, but when you go inside out, Tony Ann is also pretty quick. I can't imagine they want to be too far out of this race. So they'll be keeping Legs Galore company. You also look to Canoodling, who flashed some speed, and they're going to want to be forwardly placed in here and not be too far out of it. Javonica's had a tough time when they've come from off the pace. They're going to want to try to get involved. Going to Vegas is fresh, and they may want to try to get involved. And Mucho Unusual will have to at least be kind of close from out there to keep herself from getting hooked really, really wide. This is also a classy group for Legs Galore, who comes out of that Calbred race, and this a little bit more difficult here against this open company. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not quite sold on Legs Galore getting the kind of trip that she might need to get the job done here.
Yeah. I mean, it's guaranteed that she's going to try to run her eyeballs out, and I respect it, but I just don't think that she can hold it.
When I actually think with her running style that the downhill layout is great for her because she doesn't have to worry about like trying to rate or save anything late. You can just run like you go a little bit shorter and you just let them loose because you're fine, cutting back. So yeah, I think that might end up being a really good spot for that one. As we've seen last time out. Tell us what we're doing for our next prop, Chase.
So for our next prop, we're headed to sunny Hollandale Beach, Florida, for the Fountain of Youth Stakes. And what we're doing is we're picking the placing of where the horse Emmanuel, the Todd Pletcher trainee, will finish in the Fountain of Youth Stakes.
Okay, so we are heading to Florida. We know that Mo Donegal is scratched out of this race.
That is true.
So that'll and you're going to talk about this race a little bit. We'll give it more of a plug at the end of the show. You're going to be doing a stream tomorrow with think America's Best Racing, right? And a crew of 3 other lovely ladies all talking about this and a couple other races.
Yep, I will be bringing down the average significantly. That is for sure.
That's true. So this one asks about Emmanuel, who has been impressive so far for Todd Pletcher. Pletcher, as usually the case, he has a string of very, very nice prospects for this year, and Emmanuel is one of them. So where do you think Emmanuel finishes? What do you think about his chances?
We landed in the same place again. I went third. Yeah, I don't think that the pace setup favors Emmanuel at all. And I'm on a horse that I gave it out Wednesday on my ABR stream with Megan Devine. Howling Time for Dale Romans. If you don't know, I have a very specific religion where I worship a creature that is 1/2 man, 1/2 horse, and 1/2 Dale Romans, the Dale Tar. And I think the Dale Tar at 15-1 with Howling Time gets it done. But yeah, I think this horse is good enough to run that fast and hold for third, but I don't think it's good enough to just run this field into the ground.
Yeah, and this is sort of that acid test too, right? Like this one was kind of handled patiently, went from the maiden special weight up to the first level allowance, and now you tackle graded stakes company here. I'd imagine just the way the race shapes up, Simplification, who had that really bad start last time, I think they're going to want to get him out of the gate and at least pressing and forwardly placed in here.
Yep.
And you got Markamian down on the inside, who's got speed. You've got In Due Time and Dean Delivers, who are both pressers. You've got AP Secret, who's got speed. You've got High Oak, who's also probably going to be forwardly placed. You've got O Captain and Galt, who draws in from the also eligibles list, who's also got a little bit of pressing speed. So I agree with you. If this horse wins, he's probably really earned it, and he's probably very, very deserving. And we may be talking about him as one of the top contenders, heading into the Florida Derby and into the Kentucky Derby, if that's the case. So
absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Giant Game, the other Dale Romans horse, get quarter horsed out of the gate too. Kind of maybe even set up Howling Time just a little bit, because that horse has been throwing bullets. Howling Time. Everyone remember it. Howling Time.
Anytime I can get like a little bit of a winner, I'll take one. Anytime you lob me a softball, I'll just take the single and hit it out there. We got O Come Emmanuel here, right? I mean, it's easy. I'm sure that this has been said. Nobody's ever thought to say that with this kind of a horse, right? I'm sure the wheels haven't spun like that for anyone. They're not quite that creative, but we'll see. If
you are a true Renaissance man, I would just like to say for the record.
Yeah, I know. Always thinking, just trying to entertain all of the peeps out there in the Twitterverse and in social media world. So, Wolfie, we move along to prop number 6, and it's always like I always feel like we're voting. Yeah. Prop 6, like I should come out here and I'm like a lobbyist or something. I'm over here like selling you on. Have you seen this year's Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Most of it, because with the pool,
that's what I'm thinking. We need to get a fence around the pool here. Like I'm going to be pushing my fencing around the pool.
Prop 6 is a millage to get a monorail for the city.
Okay, so we got 3-pointers here. How many 3-pointers will Duke make versus North Carolina? So tell us, a little bit of your analysis for this one.
Yeah, Duke hits about 8 3-pointers per game.
Yep.
North Carolina gives up about 8 3-pointers per game. So I went in 5-9. My nightmare scenario is that they decide to do like a throwback thing to honor Coach K, and they all wear short shorts and only take jumpers from the elbow. But I think
like everybody just like runs out the shot clock. They're like running the
Yeah.
weave and the
Yeah.
picket fence, you know?
Yeah. There's just like it'd be like Jackie Moon posting up in a semi-pro, just
Going
back in the
Rover.
mixer, back out.
I'm going
That's it.
Rover. Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, I mean, just with the numbers, I don't see any reason why this would be different. If anything, I'd see maybe less hitting because it's just Showtime dunks because everyone wants to show out for Coach K. Just on a personal note, I kind of want to see Duke lose this game, so he has
Me
to
too.
lose and then take a Cameron victory lap after losing.
I really do. Like the Grinch in me, right? The miser in me really wants to see this happen. I went slightly because you hit the nail on the head with the projections. They're probably in like the 8-9 range. I just went slightly over here, mainly because North Carolina doesn't have a good defense. They're just like the way they both play at a really high up and down tempo. I wouldn't be shocked if they're just a little bit slightly over their projections. So I lean slightly over here with Duke and their 3-pointers, which I think what you said are like just over 8, like 8.3 or so per game. So they get into double digits here. I'm going to be in that direction. Let's get to number 7. We go back to the races. Tell us who you pick in the Kilrow Mile.
Do you think the E stands for Enoch? I'm going to decide it stands for Enoch. In the Nucky Kilrow, I went with the 4 Count Again, which I believe is the chalk for Phil D'Amato with Flavian Pratt. Just great pace setup. This and
100%, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And I think to me there are a few horses that you could use. I'm going to eliminate a lot of the speed horses here if I'm just picking a win horse. And for me, it's Law Professor or Count Again. Those are the really like the two that I wanted to go to back and forth. And I go to Law Professor because Law Professor in this case is just way less picked in a percentage standpoint. And with Flavian Pratt, you'll probably just get a lot more people gravitating there. But Law Professor is I think probably the second or third most likely winner of this race. Space Traveler is really on it, like pretty good. You kind of know what you're going to get with Space Traveler, but he gets into some trouble a lot. He's right. He's a deep closer who has gotten into a lot of trouble. Count Again is also a deep closer, but he's been a little bit better about staying out of that trouble. Law Professor is just really honest. Like he's up and coming right now. Law Professor probably would have been the second choice if he would have run in the big cap. Right. In race number 11, I think they picked this race because it's better. I'm just assuming they prefer the mile than the mile and a quarter, where you kind of watched his race last time out and he was looming up at a mile and an eighth, but he got a little bit tired. It sort of looked like that might be a little too much for him. Express Train turned him away. So maybe they thought, hey, that horse might be a little too good for us, and at the distance of a mile and a quarter, let's take our chances here cutting back to a mile on the turf. He's done very little wrong going long on the grass. Count Again should get that great trip with a lot of the early speed in here. Some of the ones that you were mentioning, you've got Subconscious, you've got Beyond Brilliant, who's quick. Whisper Not should be forwardly placed. Tell Your Daddy should be forwardly placed. Team Merchant stretches out from a sprint. And then because of where Bob and Jackie and Vanzi are drawn, they're like pressing types, but they're going to have to use some speed early and make that pace a lot quicker just to get over and get some position. So again, this is another situation like what we were saying with Emmanuel. And I think even with Legs Galore, if it is a horse that wins on the lead, they're going to really have to earn it. Yes. So if they do like power to them, I'm just looking for the race to shape up differently. And I think you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say there's one horse here that I feel like is a must include for horizontals or maybe even taking a flyer at the win bet is the 1 Delaware. It's a Chad Brown Chad Brown reclamation project. I've had this horse actually blow me up before at Aqueduct. Mm-hmm. I like the setup too. And it's another horse that makes sense logically from a pace standpoint, and therefore you can't quite throw it out.
Yep. You get the 6.5 furlong race in the first start for Patty Gallagher on January the 1st. Then you stretched out to a mile. And now this will be the third start for the new barn, third start off the layoff of the form cycle. This is what he wants to do best, this mile trip. So, and the way that we're projecting the race, this is a horse who could save all the ground and come running and at least be a horse that gets on the scene late to pick up some minor awards and spice up your tries or supers at 20-1.
Yeah, and I sometimes knock Mike Smith because I say that he's the best jockey who's just never actually like told a horse to ever do anything. And like this, but this is a great kind of spot for him because he can just sit back and be calm and be chilly on that horse and then just try to get into a drive late. And
yeah. Try to save, angle around and come home late, Yeah.
Another note on Delaware is I sometimes forget that it's an actual state.
Delaware. I know what's going on to all of our friends out in Delaware. Delaware Park, a track that I've fired on many times. They've got some big days of racing over there, and you get some horses that come out of there and that end up they're kind of sneaky good. They run over there and then they get like privately purchased and they show up for some other connections and elsewhere. So
show up in New York or I just I forget it's a state and I just think the whole Delaware Park thing is like a clever name.
Delaware as a possibility for. I mean, we're talking about racing. Nobody ever said we were smart overall in real life stuff, right? We just happen to know the racing stuff because we play them so often. So yeah, don't ask us states and capitals. That's not going to do well for us.
Please don't.
Okay, now we go to the big cap. Where does Express Train finish in the Santa Anita handicap?
Man, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'm going to get this wrong because this is a horse that I can never get a beat on. This horse never does what I expect to do.
I've been off on him for a while now. 5 or 6 times in a row, I've gone every opposite direction.
I went third. Yeah. I said third. I think that once again, there's a good amount of speed. If you believe in pace figures and breaking them up, E1, E2, and late, you have 3 horses that all fit that same kind of profile. And so you're going to have a bunch of horses that are sitting in really just unpressured places. And I can see that wave that he's in just kind of coming back, him being the best of that wave and 2 closers getting past him.
Yeah. The 1.25 miles, he's not been at his best at 1.25 miles. He's 0 for 3 going 1.25 miles. He was a runner up last year. I think he's still very capable, and he's the probably the most likely winner of this race. Like if you asked me, okay, he's second, who's going to beat him? I confidently feel like I could tell you one horse that is going to, but I just feel like that this trip might catch up with him late a little bit. And maybe it's Warrant. The horse who I actually think it's and I'm going to use at a big price in some spots is Tapatio.
Soy Tapatio. Mm-hmm.
Tap into the table. Because to me, I look at this race and he is one that maybe he's not good enough. Maybe from a class standpoint, this is a tough spot for him. But I'm not really concerned about him getting the distance. Like he feels like a horse who shouldn't have a problem going the 1.25 miles. And when you watch him visually, he looks like he's just getting going when the races are finishing up. His last effort was really good visually because he had some trouble early. And they just sort of kept him to the outside like he was the best and kept him in the clear. So, yeah, the most likely winner is Express Train, but he hasn't had all that much success at 1.25 miles. So Chase and I are both going to go under with him. I'm going to go second. Chase is going to go third there for prop number 8. So the number 9 is a combo between horse racing and basketball. And actually 9 and 10 combine horse racing and basketball. Tell us what you think about this 9th. Steph Curry, 3-pointers made, or the biggest winning program number on the Santa Anita card.
This one feels like a no-brainer because so Steph Curry hits 3.8 3-pointers per game. And you have numbers out to 12, 13, 14 in this. And so, I mean, you could get the number 4. The rail could be hot and you could still get this one home. So the public looks like they've pretty much got this one right. I'm with the winning program number.
I agree. I don't think you need to get too cute in here. You just sort of think of the ceilings for these, right? Like a great game, even for Steph, would be 6, 7, 8. Like that's an awesome game.
That's 9, an amazing shooting effort.
And he could have 10 threes and lose this.
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing is that there's no rhyme or reason to the program winning number. Like with the program winning number, like Steph Curry has to be incredible here, right? Steph Curry can have a bad game and has no chance of winning this. But
Yeah.
you could have a 40-1 shot or a favorite win and the program number, right? There's not even any.
You could have a significant geological event and a sinkhole opens up and swallows up everybody but the 12 and 13 horse.
Exactly. So yeah, I thought this one was one where I'm gonna take the biggest winning program number on the card. While we're talking little cross sport basketball, and
I love this
horse
because
racing,
of how petty this question.
right?
I love how petty this question is.
I know, it's like you can tell how the Laker fans feel about Russell Westbrook right now.
Yes.
It's like he's one of the only props that's like negative props a lot.
Yeah.
And
I imagine him sitting on this website right now, just clicking refresh over and over with a single tear falling down his face while, hello, darkness.
is he wearing
my old
glasses
friend.
that have no frames in them?
Yes.
You know, like something-
yes.
like
Absolutely. Absolutely.
like that.
And like a quilt infinity scarf.
So where did you land here, Chase?
I went Pratt.
Yeah.
It could easily be Johnny V.
Because I think Pratt's got 10 mounts on the card. Johnny V's got 8. And honestly, that's just the reason why I leaned Pratt. It was like they're both going to be on a ton of live horses. And if Pratt has a couple more opportunities on one of them deemed live horses, I'll lean there. The thing is, for like, again here, like Westbrook could have a really bad game and like
just not get any minutes at all.
Or just, like he's not, or he's just missing shots, but not turning the ball over. You know, like LeBron's the one that's dribbling the ball a lot or has the ball in his hands, and Westbrook stands in the dunker spot. And right now, man, he's like, it's weird because it's almost to the point where like I'm feeling bad for him, where, you know, you go through these different stages of like, I've been so mad at Westbrook throughout the year, like, because he's played so poorly. And then a few games ago, he actually said, like, I just got to be better, you know, which is like not something you hear from him in like a very dejected post-game speech. And
that's like catching your kid doing something wrong and they know they did. I just got to be better.
It's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in you, son. You know, like that's where he is right now. And I don't even know. So I'm worried that, like, I think he might be in a situation where he's not even confident enough to get 10 turnovers right now.
Yeah.
You know, like a number that would blow this up. Like, I don't know. I think if he's struggling at the beginning of the game or if he drives once or twice, like, he's being a little bit more passive, you know, and that's a problem with him. Because he's always got to be the guy where the keys just completely turn. Like, that's his advantage, is that he goes 100%. The moment when one of these guys or gals or anyone athletically who is really good and their advantage is their incredible punch you in the face athleticism, the moment when that either wavers because of health or confidence, you're in some trouble, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where he is right now. He's trouble.
Got that confidence level of when, like, the teacher in class is like asking questions and then randomly picking people to answer them. He's just like, please don't call me. Please
hiding under the shirt.
Don't call me. Damn!
I can see you. I can see you. Yeah,
we know I didn't read this chapter.
Yeah, we both get to Pratt. It's sad. It's sad that we've got a Russell Westbrook turnover prop in here that's actually leading because honestly, like the ceiling for this, like Russell Westbrook has had the turnover triple doubles,
right?
Like those are possible,
right?
Like you could see him having a 7 turnover game, which one of these guys isn't going to win 7 races on the card on this kind of a day. That's the difference. So he does have a higher ceiling, but I mean, I feel pretty confident with Pratt in the 3 to 4 range, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of like my ceiling, I think, is the safest there.
I'll be honest. I just don't like to see people get bullied. That's why I know. Pratt.
This is sad. So we've already talked about the number 11 prop when we talked USC and UCLA earlier. We get to number 12, which asks us, what race produces the highest win payout on the card for Saturday? Chase, where do you go, my friend?
I mean, I've shared with you before that my method in these is, one, I always go turf races. And then I went through and I look at who I consider to be logical winners, what their morning line odds are sitting at. And I feel like this was a zig compared to most people because this race is going to be less formful, I think, because it's a allowance race on the turf. And I believe it's down the hill. I went with the first race.
Nice.
Race 1.
And I have the other allowance race down the hill. Right. I went in race number 8 just because I think we see a little like in the turf races you mentioned, big field, and just I think the floor of the winner in that race might be pretty high. They might be like a 7-2, 4-1 winner. So even if we got a chalk winner in that race, that could be a decent payout. If we got anything outside of that, I think you could get a really nice payout. I have a few horses that are in the between 5 to 10-1 range pegged as pretty live horses in there. So maybe we get a $20 to $25 winner there. So I go with race number 8 on what is a really fantastic card at Santa Anita. Pick'em.santaanita.com to get your entries in. Free to enter. $500 to the winner of these every Saturday, every Sunday. Chase and I will be here with you each weekend. We'll help preview for one of them, usually here on Fridays, Friday afternoon into the evening. That way we can get you all set up for Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, Chase, there is a lot happening on Saturday, and you, my friend, are going to be part of a cool show in the afternoon on Saturday that helps preview some of these races we've been talking about. So let us know a little bit about the show that you have as I pull up the graphic and we take a look at it.
Yeah, sure. I am in possession of what the Russians call kompromat on Dan Torgman. And so I managed to blackmail my way onto the show. The first Saturday Road to the Derby live for America's Best Racing. You can find it at ABR Live, YouTube, Twitch also. And I join Ren Carruthers, Samantha Perry, Jess Paquette, who I believe you just got to hang out with.
I did.
And we will be doing about a 1-hour live stream that's going to cover the Fountain of Youth and the San Felipe.
Great. We can follow along while you're kicking back at home and playing those races. You're probably watching some college basketball on like the final regular season weekend of college basketball. Next weekend's tournaments, conference tournaments in 2 weekends. We'll be in March Madness. Samantha Perry actually joined me yesterday on That's What G Said podcast to talk a little bit about the Gulfstream Park races for this weekend. I had actually never interacted with Samantha up until about a month or two ago, and she's been on the show a couple times with me. She does a really good job doing analysis for some of the races at Monmouth Park. So she helped me out cover the last 4 races from Gulfstream. Jessica, as you mentioned, I saw her 2 weeks ago, and I think Ren, I'm going to try to get her on my show next week to cover Tampa's races. So I've had all of them on That's What, all 4 on that show on my podcast a few times before, and I've worked with all of them. So I very much support that crew. If you need any help at all with your Saturday racing, check them out. Wolfie, my friend, thank you so much. Good luck all weekend long in all of your plays, and we will be back next week with another Pick'em preview show for you. Make sure to check out that great live stream that they'll have tomorrow. That'll help get you all set up for those races. Right now, we bid you adieu. Good luck the rest of the day, and make sure to get involved tomorrow. First Saturday all over the place. You've got the pick 15. You can try to get in there and win a ton of money. You can play those cross country pick 5s, the dirt, the turf one. You can go to first.com for all the information that you need there. Good luck this weekend, folks.
Or all the Archie bread steaks you could want at Oaklawn.